beat and take it to the past now.
Hello, my friends. Welcome on board again to these spaces for sharing and for training and educational programs. My name is Ruben Lesmes, and I'm really glad to be with you. I really enjoy to share this information that maybe is not the last information that you will receive, but my intention with these spaces is just to share the information, updated information, and the best to translate this information from only educational information for practical training or to practical uses for the aviation community. So this space is designed for managers, crew members, maintenance guys, and all the people that interact on this system. Obviously, psychologists that used to be working together with the crew members or for the training process, and human factors for many trainer programs. So again, welcome you on board, and I hope that you will enjoy this content. So this is a new chapter. In this chapter, we are going to talk about the threat and error management system. Threat and error management model. Sorry. As the name says, is a model. Remember that the aviation standard has different models to work or to face some issues that we will find naturally when we are trying to accomplish the aviation activities or any other activity. So as a model, the threat and error management model is just a guide. It's just a help that gives us a step-by-step, one-by-one, how to face, how to identify these situations, these conditions that could be threats or errors as conditions or events that are beyond our management. So how to face step by step as a procedure, one by one, how to act when we found this non-decided situation or undecided situations that, as we already know, undecided situations are a kind of situations, normal situations, when we are working in a risk environment like the aviation. So when I'm talking about the aviation, I'm not talking only for pilots. I'm talking about everybody who works on the aviation system or accomplishing procedure for the aviation. I'm telling about the organizations, the administrative persons, financial persons, obviously maintenance or all the people included on the operations, ATC also, and even the authorities. So all these human beings interacting for one object, that is to fly an aircraft in a safely way, all these people is included in this educational program. So threat and error management model will be used when we are going to find that situation as well. So again, welcome on board, and I will appreciate your comments on the video. Well, let's begin. Well, the first thing to say is that we are going to put this model in 3 segments just to do it better for understanding and just to share it in a better way to understand how it works. So I will separate this model in 3 segments, call it the first segment, second segment, and the final segment. Well, if we see the old or complete or full model, yeah, it will look like this. Okay, so the first segment that we can see it here in a blue square, well, will be the diagnosis segment. Is that segment where the crew members or the person or you will identify the situations. You need to identify the threats and the errors, your own errors or external errors. We are going to explain one by one. For this, I will give you 2 videos. This is the first one, and this first one video, we are going to explain the first segment of the TEN model. Okay, the second video will explain the second and the final segment. Okay, so as I told you before, the first segment will be that segment where the crew members or where the persons, managers, etc., will identify the situations, will identify the threats and the errors, and obviously the kind of countermeasures that you will use to protect you for that situations of risk. Okay, the second segment will be named as the behavior segment. Okay, so it's talking about the actions that you will take after the diagnosis segment. Okay, so the second segment will tell us how to act when we found that situations and the outcomes according to that decision that we took about the errors and threats. Okay, and the final segment is how our decisions will develop on a safe flight, or maybe we are going to create an non-decided situations that is turning into an incident or accident. Okay, so the final segment will explain how the accidents occur when we took no good decisions with the diagnosis, or when we found that non-decided situations. Okay, so just for a better way to understand this segment, I will present it in 3 segments: the diagnosis, the behavior segment, and the final segment, or how we go to the incident and the accident. Well, it's important to say that the TEN model is not for the aviation use only. You can use it on any issue you will pretend to found, just trying to get a goal or accomplishing many procedures. So for all the people that is working at the office and will pretend to run any task, so they can use this TEN model just to be sure how to take the control about the situations, because normal is that you will find undecided situations, or the normal thing is that you will find human errors for everybody, or when you are trying to work as a team, Well, the normal situation is that the person at that team will present errors, fails, and etc. So it's not only for activities on the aircraft. It could be developed too for maintenance procedures, for financial procedures, and other kind of activities. So, well, I hope that you understand that we will give you three parts of this model, and at the end we are going to understand how it works as a tool that we can have daily. Okay, the first segment that is the diagnosis segment where you are going to identify situations. Well, you can run this first segment on a briefing, talking with your crew members or your team or your partnership. So it tells you that the best way to identify situation is working as a group, okay, or teamwork, and socializing all these things that we realize daily. Okay, the second segment is how we are going to act. So it's important to remember that the human being have three competences: the technical competences, the knowledge competences, and soft skills. Well, the most important competences for the human being now, as EBT or evidence-based training says, will be the soft skills that can give you the potential to identify, to act as a leader, to socialize and take decisions, etc. So be sure that you are working on the soft skills contained on the evidence-based training program and the CBTA or competence training assessment. That is important for the people that is working today on the aviation and for everybody. So let's begin with the first segment of the 10 model, okay? Well, the first segment will talk us about the threats, and we need to understand what the threats are. The threats are events or errors that occur beyond the influence of the flight crew. When I say the flight crew, I'm talking about you. So let's think that you are the crew, you as a human being, you as the person that we are going to face the issue or to leader the team. So all the errors and events that occur beyond you. So you will be the first person in this sentence, okay? So obviously these events or errors are going to increase your operational complexity, and your job will be to manage that, to maintain the safety standards or margin. So we are going to do is explain what threats are and what kind of threats are you going to realize when you are going to face any activity. So the first kind of threats, let's name it as latent threats. The latent threats talks about that threats that are not yet around you or behind you or around you on your space, but you will assume that you will have it an operational complexity due to any simple example of things that are presenting. Let me explain with just an example. When you found on the sky black clouds, well, the black clouds gives you the idea that maybe later you will find rain or strong winds around you or close to you. Well, but it's not yet. It's not raining yet. You even are not feeling a strong wind close to you, but just seeing that cloud, um, you will presume that it will happen soon. So that cloud is giving you the idea that something could be happening later that will increase your operational complexity. Okay, so other kind of examples could be a delay. When the people goes to work using the highway, uh, to pretend to come early to this office or his office, okay, it's important to think that if something happened to that highway, you will be stuck on the traffic. So maybe you will have a delay. Well, that delay means that that day you will be rushed or forgetting things when you are trying to work because you are affected by that delay. Okay, so if you know or you hear the morning the traffic conditions, and maybe you hear that occurred a car accident on the highway, okay, that information will give you an idea that maybe you will be rushed later trying to accomplish some task for your office. Okay, so that car accident is not around you, it's not close to you, but it's saying you that something will happen later with that, or about that, or according that. Well, if this happened to you, it could happen to everybody or anybody. So your team workers, your partners will be delayed, will be having some behavioral conditions that maybe will affect you on the day. Okay, so just think that many situations are not yet occurring around you, but they are telling you that something will happen later. Okay, so it's very important to begin the education and the training on how to identify these latent conditions. Remember that the ICAO Manual 9853 for Safety Management System talks us about the latent conditions and how to train this capability on our team workers. So, okay, the second threat is divided on two parts. And name it the external threats and internal threats. Well, external threats are those threats that are occurring on the other organizations but not yours. Okay, just don't remember, you are never working alone. Just use an example. The pilot never will believe that to fly he is alone, even if he is just taking care by himself of an aircraft. He is never alone. He will need the ATC. He will need the maintenance for the operation. He will need the fuel for this aircraft. He will need the authorities to give some dresses on how to fly in some conditions. So he's not alone. Other organizations are working together to give us the way on how to fly. So, do you know how that organization works? Do you have the concept that that organization can fail too, and it will affect you? Do you know that that organizations are integrated, but human beings too, that fails and have human errors too? Or do you know how that organization works daily to give you that supply you will need for flight? Just an example, just pretend that you want to have a meeting at your office. And for that meeting, you will need the internet. You will present something using a video from internet. But the internet company will make some repairs for your building that day. But you will know that only at the meeting. And it was just because you don't know that the internet company will have that prepared that day. Or maybe that supply that you will need will not be provided just because that company is not working that day for any reason. Any reason. Are you clear that the ATC have operational complexity too? And that situation could affect you too? So it's important to know how the other organization works, how the other organizations could influence your flight, could affect you for your results. Even the authority. The authority is working under human beings' errors too. So the most important thing is that, remember, we are working on a system. This system is called the aviation system. At the beginning, the aviation was just an industry, then an strategy, then just a way to transport and maybe a business. But now it's a system. And what is that system? What that means? Well, the system means that the aviation, the aeronautical activities act under the different organizations interacting. Always and all them accomplish one objective: the flight. The flight under safety conditions. And that means a lot. So it's important that you be sure to understand that you are not alone. And it's your responsibility to know which kind of organizations are working around you or interacting with you or will do, and how they will affect your results, trying to run that procedures for your day. Okay, so remember, this model is a step-by-step way to understand, to identify, drive us in a procedure how to have in mind all these situations that maybe we are not taking care just because we are thinking that everything is okay daily. As yesterday was good, today will be good, and tomorrow will be better, but not always working that way. Yesterday is yesterday, today will be a really different day, and we don't know what will happen tomorrow. So all the organizations are dynamics and working and changing normally. So it's important to us, it's important to you. Study about that organizations, know them, meet them, and understand them to be sure how they will be working and affecting your results, okay? Well, and besides, we will find internal threats. And which are that internal threats? Well, that internal threats will be your organization threats. Believe me, I know people that is working under organizational factors, under administration, management, but never knows how it works. Just for an example, many people doesn't know how the financial department works, how the business is going on the aviation, and how that will affect their own results. And maybe the people is working on this organization, on this company, like a blind people that doesn't look nothing, only the fly, only his own activities. Well, he will find many surprises trying to do many things every day. Just for example, when you come to a company that will send you to spend a night in a different city, well, it's important to know how the support will come to you for the hotel, for transportation, for the food, and any other stuff. How that support will come to you, who gives that, how that will affect you, because not all the companies have the same ways to administrate, to manage the financial support. And like that, many other kind of situations, just the human procedures, the human factor procedures, management, the selection procedures, the maintenance, the operation, the management, and the business too. Obviously, if the aeronautical activities is looking under a system, well, your organization is a part of that system, but inside the organization, you found different departments interacting on that organization, helping you how to accomplish your task. So you must understand how that works. Who do what? Who is working for you there? How you affect the financial management, how you affect the maintenance management, how you affect the operational management with your decisions, and in the other way, how they affect you trying to run anything. Okay, so look, this is awesome how the aeronautical system give us this separate threads just to be sure that you work on the meeting of the external and your own company thread. That means that your soft skills will work on an environmental conscience. All the stuffs around you are going to affect you and you will affect them. Really good to know that. Well, another thing, the last thread on this first segment, the first segment of the TEM and threats and errors management model, remember, is diagnosis, identify. And in this model, we are talking about the threats. We already have two kinds of threats, latent threats and internal and external threats. Okay? The third one will be the external errors. The external errors is saying to you, hey, you are not working with superheroes. Your partner will fail. Your partner will fail. Remember that. Doesn't matter if he has many years of experience working on this task, he will fail someday. It doesn't matter if your manager has 10 years of experience running that company, he will fail. Doesn't matter which person is developing any task, the normal thing is that they will fail. And you must know that. So, why is so important to know that? Well, because you need to identify the three technical strategies to control the errors on the other person. And remember, those three conditions are training, checklist, and redundant methods or tolerance. So you must know how those three strategies are working for the person around you. Okay? It's important to know that. It's important to share how are the quality of that strategies. So just a small break is important to you, that you must be educated on the errors understanding. Remember that the 10 model is the consequence, is the tool that we are going to use after you understand the errors management. Okay, so don't try to do it just as a mathematical way. No, we need to be educated first on the errors understanding, how the error works on the persons, how the errors work on you, how the companies will be protected for the errors, how the errors can be accepted as a normal operational thing for everybody, only after have three strategies for control it. So the first thing I suggest you is get educational training on errors understanding and management. Then will be easy for you identify the errors on others and identify how the strategies for control it are running or are acting. Okay, so at the first 10 model, identify, diagnosis, these will be the threats. I hope it will be easy to understand for you. Okay, and we are going to talk about the other part of the threats. Here you will find some examples about weather as latent threats. ATC, okay, the airport. Maintenance error will be external error. Operational pressure could be internal error too, okay, etc., etc. After talking about the threats, now it's important to think about our own errors. And our own errors means, how is my training program? How is my educational program? How is my checklist working for me? How the checklists are working for me? How am I using it? How I am working for it? Which kind of redundant methods we will go to use for this flight, for this situation? Remember that you will fail too. You are not a superhero. You will fail too. So I will not spend many time on this due to the errors understanding is contained on the education and training for errors management. Okay, so we are just going to tell you, I'm just tell you that remember you are going to fail. Doesn't matter your experience, the time you have doing that, you will fail. Okay, so remember, be careful, watch, identify, use your strategies to control your own errors. Okay, well, here obviously we can find some examples for crew members, but as I told you before, you can use this model for any other kind of situations that you're going to run by your company or your own uh, objectives. Okay, so the first segment of diagnosis, the first part of this diagnosis will be the threats and adding your own errors. Okay, this is the first thing. All the things that will affect you, all the things that will have some interacting with you or you with them and will affect your results. All these things that are increasing the operational complexity, the risk, all these things gotta be identified by you, your crew, your team members together in a briefing, talking about that. It will not take more than 10, 15 minutes before or beginning the procedure that you are going to try. If the people is trained on this, they will not take many time for this. It's not like, oh, we will going to run a conference for this every day. No, it's not necessary. Remember, the briefings are just a brief conversation of this, socializing all this stuff. Okay. Well, after found all that things that will affect us, it's really important to identify now our countermeasures. And remember that the safety program tells us about 3 countermeasures that include every countermeasure for the aviation for any task. So all of them are technology, normative, and training. Okay, those are the countermeasures contained on the 9859 document. But it's important to tell you that the supervised to surveillance is important. The surveillance is important because you are not going to be alone there. You need somebody making that cross check for you and you for the other persons. Remember, technology, all the stuff, hardware that you can use to protect you for that threats and errors. Normative, updated, practical, and in use for you, your team, your operation, your day. Training, of course. Training reduces the probability of an error, of a dangerous situation. Okay, and surveillance. So, together with your team crew, discuss which kind of countermeasures you will have for that day. How are they working? And remember, the most important countermeasures are those that are not working in a good way, or those that you have not available for you. Why are those the most important? Easy. Because if you don't have a countermeasure, you need to increase the surveillance. You need to apply the normative. You need to use your training and your skills will be better for that situation if you have not the technology as an example. Okay, so if you have not one countermeasures, you need to increase the other ones working, and you need to improve more from you to run that task. Okay, you can fly, you can go and accomplish that task, but will be a little bit more complex than if you have all the countermeasures working in a good way. So, well, it's easy to identify the countermeasures that are working and are working good, but sometimes the people is not so good, or the person are not so good identifying that countermeasures that are affected or that we don't have. An example could be that not many people have a fire extinguisher at their home, and they don't know how it will be a way that will has contain that situation will contain a big risk, because if you are living with kids, that kid can't be at the kitchen playing with fire. So you need a normative, and then you need to train them how to use the kitchen. Okay, and obviously you will need the surveillance, only because you don't have a fire extinguisher. But if you have it, it doesn't mean that you will be okay with all that kind of things. No, it means that you have already a technology any case. Okay, so that is the way how you identify and how to work with countermeasures. Discuss that, socialize that on a brief with your people. So the first segment, diagnosis, will be threats, your errors, and countermeasures. This is the briefing part for a new day. Before you pretend to run the procedures, please make a briefing, work on a briefing, share the information, socialize it. Okay? Well, I hope this information could help you on the next flight, on the next task that you will run, on the next goal that you are trying to get, and daily if you have to manage this environment that is really beauty, but it asks for many efforts from us. So I appreciate too much that you spend the time sharing this information, and I'm really sorry about my English is not too good, but I hope that you can understand it. So I'm trying to come to other countries, not only Latin America, but we already working with 11 countries, but now we are working in Europe, Canada, and United States too. So as always, you are welcome. My name is Ruben Lesmes, and I hope and see you at the next program, where we are going to explain the second segment and the final segment of the threat and error management model. So thank you and bye-bye.